Hi, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about my experiences in Christianity. I talked a little bit about it in the video on how the Bible has affected my life, but I thought I would go a little more in depth. I'm not going to talk about every single church I've been to, but I will say I've been to 24 churches in my life. There's people that have gone to way more churches than that. There's a YouTube channel that talks about 52 churches in 52 weeks. And then online, I read an article by somebody who's gone to 120 something churches in their life. So I obviously haven't been to as many churches as some other people have been to. So I feel like, yes, I've been to a lot of churches, but I don't think it's as bad as some people might think it is. Anyway, I'm going to start out with where I started with Christianity. The United Methodist Church. I was baptized as a baby, and I went through confirmation when I was 11, and about a year later, my family stopped going there. Then when I was 15, I went to a charismatic church with a friend from school, high school, from high school, and went there until that church closed its doors. That church closed its doors about 2 years later, and then I explored other religions for the next dozen years or so. I explored New Age, I explored Eastern religion. Then in 2005, I went to a mega church with my sister. I liked it. I got involved at that church, but it was hard for me to get to, so I ended up going to the church that founded the town that I grew up in. And when that church and the town were founded, it originally had similarities to the origin of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but over time that church became a normal Christian church. So I would say it's kind of its own denomination, though, because it does have other churches around the world. So in a way, it's its own denomination. And then I don't remember the order of it, but at some point I went to the Lutheran church in town, which was a Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod church. Then I think from there, I think this is the order of it. I went from there back to the Methodist church and became a lay speaker. And around the time I became a lay speaker, I really didn't get a chance to use being a lay speaker because I ended up moving. I moved to another town, and I'm just going to quickly go through, very briefly, the churches that stood out to me that I went to when I moved. I went to 5 churches in that town, but I'm not going to talk about all 5 of them. I'm just going to talk about the ones that stick out in my mind. The first one that sticks out in my mind is the Roman Catholic Church. I'd never attended Roman Catholic Church before. So I went there for about a month, and during that month I started taking RCIA classes, and I do not remember what RCIA stands for. If somebody knows, please put it in the comments, because I don't remember. Basically, it's an adult class to prepare you to become a Roman Catholic is what it is. So I went there for, like I said, for about a month, and that church stood out to me. Then the other church that stands out to me is the Episcopal Church. This is my first time going to an Episcopal church. It's like a hybrid of Roman Catholic and Protestant. So it's like you have Protestant theology, but Roman Catholic style worship. So it's similar to the Methodist worship services but a little bit more high church. It's almost identical to a Roman Catholic church service. So that one was interesting. The priest was really nice. And then the other church that stands out to me from that town was the Baptist church I went to. And that was really interesting. That was my first exposure to a Baptist church. But it was a Baptist church that was basically becoming non-denominational. But that church was really interesting. The people were really nice. The worship services are very similar to what you find at a mega church. So that was interesting. Then I ended up having to move in with my sister, and the closest church to her apartment was a Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod Church. And around the time I was going to there, my mom passed away from lung cancer. She wasn't a smoker. So I was going there to the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod Church. I went through the membership class, but we ended up moving before I could become a member. And I was doing research online at the time about the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, and I was starting to have issues with their view of the LGBT community and some other theological things. So I probably would not have become a member if I would have not moved. So then the next town I went to nearly every church in town. So I'm only going to talk about the ones that stood out to me. And the only church I didn't go to in that town was the Roman Catholic Church. The dual denomination church was really wild. It was two denominations, United Methodist and United Church of Christ. For those that don't know, the United Church of Christ is the most liberal Protestant denomination in the United States. So people who are members of this church are members of both the United Methodist Church and the United Church of Christ. I'd have to do a separate video explaining how this church is set up, because it is different. It was a cool church to go to, but it was different. What I mean by different is the way the leadership structure was different, because you have two denominations. The way they would... I'll save it for another video. I'll save that for another video because it gets complicated. And then the other church that stands out to me is... how do I describe it? It's a charismatic church is the best way to describe the church. The pandemic... Wait, hold on. The pandemic hadn't happened yet. I went there for a couple weeks, but then ended up moving. And then going to two churches. A non-denominational church and an evangelical free church. Both those churches were good. I went to the evangelical free church until I moved to the town I was living in before we moved here. So then I went to a charismatic church, It was the same charismatic church that I mentioned just a little bit ago. Um, and I went there and I served uh, as a greeter, and I was a camera operator for the live stream. If anyone from that church is watching, hi. I don't know if I should say the name of the church or not in this video because I don't know if they would want me saying it. I went there, and that was good. I really can't agree with though their approach to the LGBT um, community, and I enjoyed being there, and I was at that church until we moved here where we're living now. Um, and when we first moved here, I went to Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod Church, which is just a block away from where I'm sitting right at this moment. I went there for a couple weeks. Actually had a meeting with the pastor to talk about their theology a little bit and stuff. And then I started going online to learn more about WELS than what I had when I went to that first WELS church in the town I grew up in, and found out that they have a rule that lay people, I'm talking about lay people, everyday people, I'm not talking about pastors here, but they have a rule that lay people should not pray with people from other denominations, and their reasoning is that it could dilute their theology because it makes it look like they theologically, their denomination, agrees with the denomination of the other person that the lay person is praying with. So, like as an example, I'm sitting right here. Say I was WELS, and the person sitting next to me belonged to, say, the Baptists. Say they were a Baptist, and that person would like me to pray with them. I would have to explain to him, well, I can't pray with you because the church I go to has a rule that says I can't pray with you because that'd be like my denomination acknowledging, or not acknowledging, but saying that our theology is the same even though it's not. So I don't agree with that rule, and I don't agree with their stance on the LGBT. So then I went to one church service and Bible study at the ELCA church about a mile from here. But that's hard for me to get to. Something you don't know about me is I don't drive. And I don't drive is because when I was 16, I tried to learn how to drive, but there's just too much to remember and too much to focus on. And it just isn't in my wiring to be able to drive. So I always try to live places where I can either walk everywhere or take a bus or public transportation. And the nice thing about this town is I can do both of those things. There's tons of places to walk, and there are buses. But for this particular church, it'd be very difficult to get there, especially in winter, because it's a mile away. I'd have to walk through snow and stuff and ice and everything to get there. So I realized that just isn't gonna be a feasible church for me. And not only that, since before moving, I've had some things I've been struggling with theologically, which I'll do a separate video on at some point. So today I went, and today is a Tuesday. I went to the United Methodist Church here in town and talked to the pastor there. I made the appointment yesterday, and I went and talked to them and explained my history with Christianity like I'm explaining it to you, and explained the things that I'm struggling with theologically, and what they had to say was more helpful than the stuff I tried to do on my own to solve my problems. I tried turning to the Bible to find answers. Couldn't find answers in the Bible. Tried looking at Bible commentaries. Couldn't find answers. Tried looking online. Couldn't find answers. But the pastor was able to give me some help and some advice. So that helped. She invited me to a class tomorrow at the United Methodist Church, a theology class. So I'm going to go to that class tomorrow, and then on Sunday I'm going to go to the church service. And that's going to be interesting. I look forward to it. Hopefully this church works out. It's not that far away. It's further than a block, but based on everything I've seen, I should be able to walk to it. And there's multiple ways to walk there, so I can enjoy different scenery on the way there. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if I'm going to end up going to the United Methodist Church or what's going to happen. There are a lot of churches in this town, but there's not a lot of ones that are easy to get to for me. It was interesting getting to talk to her because I was able to ask her about what's going on with the United Methodist Church. Because for those of you who don't know, the United Methodist Church is going through a split. It's basically splitting into two denominations: the United Methodist Church and the Global Methodist Church. And the issue that's dividing Methodist, well, the primary issue, there are others, but the primary issue is over the LGBT community. So that's an interesting topic in itself. So it was good to get her point of view on the church split, because she's a pastor and she is up to date on what's going on, because what I had seen online is not as up to date as what she told me today. So that was a good conversation. So I reached the point in this story where I'm up to date with where I am with Christianity and my experience of it. What I'd like to say about my experience of Christianity is it's been an up and down roller coaster, because I've had some really bad experiences and I've had some good experiences. One of the bad experiences was when I was in Boy Scouts. This was after my family stopped going to the Methodist Church. We weren't going to church, but I still believed in God. I still believed in Jesus and, the Bible and things. But we just didn't go to church. But I was in Boy Scouts, and I was at scout camp. I don't remember the name for this particular scout camp. But there was a name for the type of camp it was, and I just don't remember that. But anyway, we were there. My troop was with another troop. For whatever reason, my scoutmaster couldn't be there. And I think by this time, I'm not sure. Okay, well, whatever. I'm not going to talk about that because I'm not sure if that was the case. Anyway, my scoutmaster wasn't there. I don't remember if my cousin had joined Boy Scouts by this point yet. I think he might have. I don't remember if he was at scout camp with me. And we were at scout camp. The first couple days, everything was going great. I was having fun. This was the year my dad did not go. The first year my dad went with me. But this is the second year, and the other troop that I was with did not know that one of their scouts was an atheist. Now, for those of you who don't know, Boy Scouts is kind of quasi a religion. You have to believe in God to be a part of it. Or at least you did at that time. And they found out the kid was an atheist. So we get back to camp at the end of the day everybody finds out he's an atheist. The scoutmaster for the other troop calls a meeting of everybody. This is before we go to dinner. And he announces that after dinner, the kid who's an atheist, the person who's staying in the tent with him, is going to move to another tent. And that kid's going to be all by himself. And no one is supposed to talk to him the rest of the week. Because this camp was for 7 days. And I'm sitting there going, in my head, I didn't say anything out loud, but in my head I'm like, this is awful. Where is this taught in the Bible to treat people like this? So then we go to dinner, and whoever the person in charge of doing the prayer for dinner ends up doing a 20 or 30 minute prayer. So by the time the prayer is done, everyone's food is cold. And he's like, he prayed for the kid that was an atheist, which I, again, thought that's awful, because I don't remember there being any examples in the Bible of Jesus or the apostles doing that kind of thing. Because when you do that, you're basically saying you're better than an atheist is, you're superior to them, or that you want them to change to be the way you want them to be. So, dinner was awful. At the time, I didn't know I was autistic. But if my food that's supposed to be hot is too cold, I have a very difficult time digesting it. So, dinner was a nightmare. We get back to camp, and I don't remember if my cousin was there or my friend from school was there with me that stayed in the tent with me. Whoever my tent mate was, we sat there and talked about what was going on with this atheist kid, because neither of us were happy about the way this kid is being treated. And we're not from the same troop as he is, but we're there together because my scoutmaster couldn't be there that week. So we decided we're still going to be friends with this kid. We're going to make sure he has friends for the week so he won't have a horrible time. And the next day comes, we go and talk to the kid. We just say hi to him or whatever. All of a sudden that scoutmaster goes off on us. He goes, that's it. Now no one's supposed to talk to the two of you. And we're going to go send this atheist kid out in the middle of the woods with no adults. And he's going to be by himself until he decides to become a Christian. And not only that, me and whoever was bunking with me, we had to clean the latrine for the rest of the week. It was our job to clean the toilets, everything, for the rest of the week. So all this did, for me, is leave a bad taste in my mouth for Christianity. Because this is not what I was brought up to believe in the Methodist Church. This is not what any of my pastors taught me. It's not what my parents taught me. What I was doing was what my parents taught me and what my pastors at church had taught me, which is we're to love our neighbor. We're supposed to take care of our neighbor and be caring and friendly to them. So, sorry I got a little upset there. Because I remember everything so vividly. So that was the first time in Scouts I had a miserable experience. I didn't even work on getting any merit badges that summer, I don't think. And plus I was at a point where I was going to age out of Boy Scouts. Because I got into it later than most people. So we get back to town, and it turns out my troop is going to merge with that troop. And that troop met at the church I grew up in. So, by this time, I know my cousin was involved in Boy Scouts. So, me and my cousin would walk from my grandma's house, where he lived, to Boy Scouts every week. And I achieved whatever the highest rank was that I achieved at the time. I don't even remember, because I was having such an awful time. And I aged out. But me and my cousin were talking amongst ourselves about how horrible that scoutmaster was, and how horrible he treated people. Because once we joined that troop, we were treated like garbage. They made it very difficult for us to earn anything. So I basically aged out. But then my dad found me something similar to Boy Scouts for me and my cousin to do. And we did that for a while, but everybody was so much older than us. So we basically gave up on anything like scouting. So that really left a bad taste in my mouth for Christianity. So then, like I said, a few years later, when I did the story earlier, that I went to that charismatic church, and I got a better explanation of who Jesus was. Or at least their better explanation of who Jesus was. And like I said, that church ended up closing its doors. And the way it ended up closing its doors, I basically walked away from Christianity until 2005 and was exploring other religions. So there has been good and there has been bad in my experience with Christianity. But my worst experience with Christianity came through being a Boy Scout. I think if I never would have gotten into Boy Scouts, I might not have ever had that awful experience. But I have no way of knowing for sure. Maybe I would have had some other awful experience somewhere else. I don't know. But when you're trying to remember how old I don't even remember how old I was when all that happened. But I know I was aging out of being able to get to the point of getting an Eagle Scout rank. I was a few ranks away from it when I left scouting. That's all I remember. Eventually I threw away all my scouting stuff because I just had too many bad memories of that year at scout camp. The year before was freaking awesome. My dad was there. We did every activity I could do at the rank I was at. That first year of scout camp was awesome because I got to spend so much time with my dad. Because normally my dad worked all the time, so I wouldn't really see him a whole lot during the week. But for that 1 week, I got to spend so much time with my dad. That was awesome. But then that following year, my dad was not able to be there. My scoutmaster was not able to be there. And that poor atheist kid. I doubt that kid ever became a Christian because of how bad he was treated by people who God himself says in Scripture, love your neighbor as you do yourself. Jesus treated non-Jews better than these scout leaders were treating that atheist. Jesus healed a Gentile's Roman soldier's servant. And here these scout leaders, adults, are treating an atheist kid like garbage. That, to me, is not Christian. And I think they should have gotten in trouble with the law for the way they treated him. But that's my opinion. But yeah, I do believe religion can both be a good thing and it can be a toxic thing. The factors that come into that, I don't know. I don't know how the toxic side of Christianity happens. I don't know what leads to it, what the factors are that cause people to be that way. I don't know if it's their theological outlook or if it's they had pastors who didn't really teach what Scripture says. I'm grateful. I've, for the most part in my life, have had awesome pastors that would go through very carefully a passage, and they'd even go, the best pastors I've ever had would even go through the original language. And they would say, in this particular verse, which is like a key to understanding the passage, the Greek or the Hebrew here, it was anciently understood, that these words were anciently understood in these ways. And that ancient Bible commentaries tell us this about the passage. Those are some of the best things that ever happened. That's what led me to want to learn Greek. That's what led me to want to study the Bible in as much detail as I could, is these great pastors. And that's what led me to go to Bible college, was seeing pastors that were not only passionate about the Bible, they were very careful in explaining the culture that goes around the Bible. They would explain things from archaeology, anthropology, sociology, and you would get all of this different, all these details that make the Bible seem very much alive and not just an ancient document written thousands of years ago. Sorry for my ramble today. Sorry if I got too emotional or anything for some people. I humbly apologize for if I said anything out of line. I don't think I did. But it's hard not to relate an experience without kind of reliving it. At least for me. I hope I end up in a denomination that helps me feel close to God and people, and helps me continue to dive into the Bible. Whether that's the United Methodist Church, which I grew up in, or some other denomination. I don't know where God wants me to be. That's another thing I'd like to talk about real quick before I end the video. Two things I want to talk about, actually. I don't know when this particular video is coming out, and sorry about the lighting. I'm just using natural lighting here. There's an upcoming 2 videos on that are about my experience with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The first one will be a review of the Latter-day Saint scriptures, and then my detailed experience with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That might come out after this video, or it might come out before this video. I do not know yet. I'm going to try and work it to where this video comes out before that. But if I don't succeed in doing that, I hope you can see me okay in this video. I'm sorry about lighting and stuff. And I hope my cat hasn't been a distraction. He's a 20-year-old cat. I love him to death. He's awesome. He's a great buddy to hang out with. Sorry that this video has been so long. What was my other announcement? Oh yeah, I don't know when this video is coming out, and I told you about the Latter-day Saint stuff. Oh, and then I have a video coming out on a translation called The New English Translation of the Septuagint. And I hope to do some reviews of the New Testament in Greek and the Septuagint. I don't read Hebrew, so I don't think I would be able to do a review of a Hebrew text. I don't know. What do you think? Should somebody who doesn't know Hebrew do a review of a Hebrew text? Or should I leave that to other YouTubers who know Hebrew to do? because I do think Hebrew looks cool. I mean, I've gone to an exhibit of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's amazing to look at Hebrew. It's a very beautiful language. I mean, I've learned a few words of Hebrew. I know enough Hebrew to read the first 5 verses of Genesis. But that's as far as I can get with Hebrew. Yes, Kitty. I don't know what else to say. I hope everybody watching this is doing okay. I really appreciate everybody that watches my videos. Sorry this video and the video on my experience of the Latter-day Saints are going to be long. If I had a way of condensing it down more, I would. But I don't know how to do that without leaving out important details. I will do more sit-down videos like this, but I will keep them shorter because the subjects for those are not going to require as much detail. And I'll probably do some devotional videos where I go through a passage of the Bible or a book of the Bible. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching. It means a lot to me that people are watching my videos. I'll be glad when I can get my stuff out of storage and get back to doing Bible reviews and book reviews. Because right now, staying with my sister, I do not have room in my bedroom to buy a bunch of Bibles and books in order to do reviews. I don't know if it's legal to do book reviews and Bible reviews of stuff from a library. I'll have to look into that. Because I'm not sure if there's some weird copyright law with library books or not. So I'll have to look into it. If I can use library books, I will, but I gotta look it up. I hope everybody's doing fine. I hope you're having a good time this time of year, because I love this time of year because the weather's so great. You can go for long walks and enjoy the weather, and I have a lot of stuff within walking distance of me that I can go walk to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.